This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free. He goes to Gibbs-White. Edge of the box. Yes! Great goal! What a hit from Alanga! Gibbs-White! They've only gone and done it again! Forest back in the lead from Morgan Gibbs-White! Oh, and he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic!
Hello and welcome to Red Side of the Trent as Forest hold out and in fact nearly snatch all 3 points from Stamford Bridge as a hectic last 20 to 30 minutes sees Forest take a point away from informed Chelsea. Joining me are Reese Lane and Lee Clark to go through all the action and the season so far in a sense because we go into another international break being in October. I'm sure we'll be bringing you a birthday spread during the international break, won't we, Reese?
It's already wrote. I think we've got about 25 names to whittle down to 10.
Oh, I was going to suggest I'll take the reins and you can have a go. But fair enough, if you've already done it, you'd be winning that one. Just before we get into everything, I may as well ask you how do you feel after yesterday's point at Stamford Bridge?
Yeah, very happy for me. If you go for me first, yeah, very happy. At least we're not. At least we're not going into the international break on the back of 2 defeats. That was my biggest worry after losing to Fulham. And obviously with Chelsea banging form. So, yeah, I think if you'd have said to me before a ball was kicked that we'd have double figures on the board going into the second international break, to be honest, I'd have probably said fair enough, but I don't think we'd have got the points at the places that we necessarily have. So, yeah, I'm pretty content at the moment.
Yeah, Reese?
Yeah, delighted. It was a great point as we're going to get into. I do enjoy watching England, as I'm sure you're all aware of now, but quite a bit frustrated really that another international break has come up because, the Premier League, you kind of want the games coming thick and fast, don't you? With respect, I'd fully expect England to be beating Finland and Greece this week. So when they're not qualified, it's a bit frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Morgan Gibbs-White does make the trip. I'm not sure if he will after just watching him hobble off, to be fair. Just going to say afternoon to Sarah, who's commented with the 20 people we've got in on 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I tip my hat off to the people joining because obviously people might still be at work and whatnot. I'm a little bit indifferent because obviously that game last week against Fulham was so disappointing. I almost feel a bit like we should still be unbeaten. I've been a little bit greedy here, but kind of just that performance yesterday and the performance against Fulham is so chalk and cheese. It's unbelievable. So hopefully we can kind of put that down as a bit of a blip and kind of something that we will learn from in the future. But Lee, we'll get right into it. The team news come in at 12:45 these days. I don't know why they've changed that, but Morgan Gibbs-White come back in for Dominguez, obviously after serving his suspension, and Callum Hudson-Odoi in for Tyrell Wunyi, which saw us revert back to a 4-2-3-1 with Elliot Anderson operating in a kind of like an inverted winger or however you want to look at it, a bit lopsided. What did you make of the team when that broke?
I thought it was pretty clever. I thought it was evident in the the opening exchanges of the game that when we were out of possession, that Anderson was going to drop in and make it a 3 in midfield. So I think there was a lot of scepticism beforehand why we were playing him on the left and maybe not putting Sosa or Silva in there. Well, within 10-15 minutes, we kind of understood why we weren't doing that because we wanted Anderson to drop in and kind of make a 3-pronged midfield. So yeah, it was once again a meticulous game plan, I'd call it, from Nuno. I think he'd got what I'm sort of liking about his style of what we're trying to do away is that every team there's a plan for. So yeah, it was again, it was 0-0 at half time. So for 45 minutes it worked. And obviously, as we'll move on to, I'm sure, unlike the Fulham game, it was actually us that got the early goal in the second half.
Yeah. Reese, what did you make of it? And I mean, I know that Ryan Yates was immediately irritating Enzo Fernandez. It seems he keeps targeting all the World Cup winners.
Yeah, I think he made a foul on him. I think it was 19 seconds. I think it was, but that set the tone for the day. Yeah, the first half there wasn't really, I'd say, much in it. The only real, I'd say, massive chance of note was where, Murillo got caught on the ball, which he did a couple of times yesterday, and then he does the thing where he did that incredible slide tackle and stung the palms of Sanchez. So bit of the good and the bad yesterday. But yeah, got caught on the ball, and then I think it's Madueke who kind of skins him, doesn't him, pulls it back for Cole Palmer's coming in, and you're thinking it's going to just be smashed in. And thankfully, Olaran has actually put a brilliant tackle in on him there. And then it's kind of just weirdly spun and hit the post. And until the replay was shown, I didn't realise how close that was. I mean, it kind of hit the back of Sells, didn't he? And he quickly reacted and scooped it up. So that was good goalkeeping from him. I mean, I'm not sure how that didn't go in, but yeah, delighted it didn't. And yeah, the game plan worked really well first half. I think, as frustrated as I was personally last week with Nuno's tactics, I think away from home, he's cracked the formula. Away from home, we're really good. The form is superb. I mean, it's chalk and cheese to what it was, in the first season, especially when you went away from home to any team and thought you were going to get beat. So, yeah, I thought first half and tactically again yesterday away from home, I thought Nuno got it pretty spot on.
When was the last time there was a goal mouth scramble like that, eh? Like, they're gone are those days. I really miss them. Like, we need a good old goal mouth scramble. But second half, Lee, we go into it, and I mean, a bit of a cynical foul from, I think, Nicholas Jackson on James Ward Prowse, giving us an opportunity to lump a ball into the box. And I mean, brilliant from Milenkovic to peel off on Milo Augusto, I think it is. And Chris Wood, right place, right time. Really needs those sort of chances to gobble up, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it must have been infuriating for Chelsea fans watching Chris Wood, who's, in the form he's in under Nuno. He's just marauding into the box unmarked with a simple tapping, basically. I say a simple tapping. Obviously, he's still got to make sure he gets contact on it. Obviously, he was on the stretch a little bit, weren't he? But yeah, it was nice to see a score from a set piece. It looks like that's something that we're obviously, trying to address from last season at both ends. And yeah, it was all going well at that point, I suppose, wasn't it? And it's just a shame that they scored with within 10 minutes, I suppose. But when you're playing good sides, I suppose it's one of them where you just have to kind of tip your hat to them and say, I mean, looking at it at the end of the game, a draw was definitely a fair result. I think both keepers made absolute worldies, didn't they? So yeah, it was a nice goal, a nice finish, and good to see Milenkovic actually playing his part at the other end of the pitch as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to Forest Focus podcast actually, and Mark Southern's pointed out that we're the lowest XG for like attempts from set pieces in the division. We're the best, so that's a massive turnaround from last season, where you thought every time a team got a set piece, we were going to concede, or we might. There's a definite chance of conceding. So credit to the coaching staff, and I think Milenkovic is a huge part of that, and we will obviously go into that. And yeah, I mean, like Lee said, Reese, a bit of a shame that Madueke's kind of carbon copy of what Callum Hudson-Odoi is from the opposite side to what he did to Chelsea last season. But with a guy who shoots that often as Madueke does, he doesn't often pass very often. He was always going to bounce to score one, but it actually takes a really unlucky deflection, I think, off Moreno to actually make it go a bit further in the corner. Because when I first watched, I thought, well, Sells should probably be disappointed to save it, but actually, I think it takes it away from him, really.
I think we kind of all say this as fans, don't we? Like, don't let a player cut in, but it's easier said than done, isn't it? When you've got a quick winger facing you, they shift one way, you go with them, because if you don't, they're just going to do you. But they literally quickly shift the other, and it gets them that half yard of space. And to be fair to Madueke, he's not really hit it too cleanly. It's pretty precise into the corner, but it's probably because it's through a crowd of bodies. I think if that was a one where it's Sells has a pretty clear view, I think he probably would have saved that. But because it went through so many bodies and it was quite in the corner, it was one of them, wasn't it? Really disappointing. But I guess as well, even with that, if it had 10 or 11 men on, it would have been very easy then for Chelsea to seize the initiative and gone after us, and for us to not cave in as we've done in previous seasons. I think that's a testament to just a newfound formula away from home, really. Yeah, it was a shame, but it's just one of them. At the end of the day, you're going to concede goals, aren't you, to really good sides from time to time, and it was one of them for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Moreno, I think like he probably wanted to get Madueke on the outside, but Madueke's been beating him on the outside as well, and kind of gave him a bit of a torrid time. Whereas obviously we see Moreno completely shut out Mo Salah the other week, and it's kind of just one of those where someone's gonna, I don't know, they might do something a little bit different, and Madueke's got that speed and awareness and actually quite a decent right foot to kind of get it onto. So it's just one of them. But followed by that with Morgan Gibbs-White went down with a bad ankle injury, or it looked like a bad injury, but hopefully him hobbling off doesn't mean it's too bad, and we've got the couple of weeks for him to recover. And then the biggest debate, and I think this is an interesting one, and I think we'll all probably be on the same sort of wavelength for this. But James Ward Prowse obviously getting a second yellow card after a bad touch and letting Nicholas Jackson go through, and he chose to basically fall on the ball and take a second yellow card. So, Lee, starting with yourself, did you think at the time it was a wise decision for Ward Prowse to do that, or did you think it was a little naive?
Well, is it really anything? I mean, again, I'm going to start by playing devil's advocate a bit here. Is it really any different to him making a cynical trip that stops a player going through? Probably not. Does it look a bit silly? Yeah, it does. It just because you don't see it very often on a football pitch, do you? Had he not done it, would Nicholas Jackson have scored with the form he's in? Possibly. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think we said in our group chat at the time, to be fair, it looked a bit foolish, but when you look at it and you simmer down a bit, this is why I think lots of things that get put on social media in the heat of the moment are kind of unnecessary, because you look back at it now and what he did actually helped us get that point in a really weird way. So, yeah, I think it was a lot was made of it, and I just think if it had just been a trip that was a bog standard second yellow card, you know, that you see, much like what Rashford should have been shown a second yellow card for yesterday, but he plays for Man U, so he didn't get one. It's no different. It just looks a bit sillier because it's in the circumstances he's got it. But yeah, he took one for the team. That's all there is to it. There's lots of different ways you can take one for the team, and Ward Prowse might just be part of a few highlight reels for the stupidest moments of madness, I suppose, because it just looks so bizarre, doesn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah, Reece, what's your opinion of it?
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, like Lee said, when you've gone and got a point, it seems to be a good decision. You know, we can all sit here as fans and say what he should have done, but in that moment, he's got a split-second decision to make. So he either handles it, which is going to be a second yellow. I mean, he tried his best Stephen Taylor impression, didn't he, when he handled it on the line for Newcastle, if you remember them years ago, making out he was injured. I think the referee wasn't fooled by that, but it was either that or, obviously, like Lee said as well, let Jackson go through down the flank. Murillo, I think, might have been covering, but he's not to know that, is he? Denny, I guess I could be ultra harsh on Nuno and say, could he have probably took him off because he just subbed Anderson Ante before that, with him being on a yellow. Ward Prowse. But from a manager's perspective, you can't really legislate for your centre midfielder losing concentration with a bad touch and then slipping over and handling it. So, yeah, it's kind of one of them, isn't it, really? In the end, I think it kind of worked out well because, to be fair, that I thought brought Chelsea into the game more in terms of they pushed and it left quite a few holes at the back, and we had, you know, I can think of a couple of chances at the least to score, and if it wasn't for really good saves from Sanchez, we would have done. So, yeah, like Lee said, it looks silly, doesn't it? But I can totally understand why I did it personally.
I think he falls on the ball because I think if he slide tackles, I don't think he gets Jackson. And I think that's what he probably thinks. He thinks, well, if I can't take the man, I'm just going to handle the ball. Because I think his intention is always to get a yellow card in that instance, Ward Prowse. I generally do.
Oh, yeah, took one for the team, no doubt about that.
And we've slated on this podcast before where we've had players and they've not been ruthless, where a player's got away. We've not just pulled a shirt and took a yellow card and we've been too nice. And I actually think it was really clever from him. It was experience. And I mean, it's weird for me to say that. Oh, it was really good that our player got sent off. I don't want us to go down to 10 men every week because it's just not. We're not going to get points. It's not always feasible. But I think at the time, I kind of looked at a bigger picture. Just thought, well, Murillo might be covering, like you said, Reece. He's not going to know that. He ain't got that time to kind of look and think about it. But yeah, and I agree with you. I do think it brought Chelsea out, and I was surprised at how many opportunities we actually got. We had quite a few shots in those last few minutes, but yeah, we'll get into that, into the kind of madness of it all. Lee, obviously, Matt Sells come up trumps in this game, pulled off some tremendous saves, the double save from Palmer. We also had some handbags. So Nico Williams has kind of broke with the ball. I think Cucurella fouls Alanga. Before then, Nico Williams trips Cucurella into Maresca and kind of causes mass chaos, which I absolutely loved, by the way. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I do have some sympathy for Kavanagh because he let a lot of the little ones go all afternoon, which I don't necessarily mind, I've got to be honest. I'd certainly rather than that than them being like really busy. But yeah, hindsight with that one, I think there is a really easy free kick on Alanga for him to give. And I think as a referee at the level he is, I think he'll know that was probably an oversight. If he gives that free kick there, all of that doesn't happen, does it? And he's ended up with the last 25 minutes with all the stoppage time, weren't it? Where everything's kind of a bit on a knife edge, and he's watching for the next one going flying in, and Chelsea are going to get a $50,000 fine, I think, aren't they, for 6 yellow cards or something? So it's all hindsight though. Like I say, I'll be honest with you. I think in context of some of the others we've had, I thought the ref did all right yesterday. I thought it was. What I liked about him is you didn't really see him. And that's probably the biggest compliment you can pay any ref. He probably did get that one wrong. I think there was an easy free kick he could give there. But yeah, I didn't mind his performance yesterday, to be fair.
Are you surprised VAR does not step into with a slap on Morato by, I think it is Nicholas Jackson at this point?
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Not really.
He comes away. He comes from like 50 yards to come and slap a player. That's not even like done anything. He's just trying to kind of like diffuse.
Weirdly, his head fell off. We had a free kick, didn't he? And he was absolutely moaning and whinging about something, and even his own teammates were telling him to shut up. So his head had clearly flown off for some reason. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, I think from what I understand, I think VAR's there to kind of sort out the players that are on the pitch. I think Dermot Gallagher alluded to it this morning on Ref Watch, to be fair, that once everything's sorted, that everyone's happy that it goes to the FA. Obviously, just reading a few bits and bobs, it looks like Jackson might get away with it. But again, Chelsea are part of that exclusive Sky 6, aren't they? So again, that doesn't really surprise me if they are going to get away with it. If that was Morgan Gibbs-White slapping Jackson, I'm sure he'd probably get about 100-game ban or something.
That's abysmal if they get away with that, because you cannot.
I mean, I wouldn't.
A player.
The report that's doing the rounds, they've called Chris Kavanagh Graham Kavanagh. So I mean, let's not trust that one just yet. Whether that's an oversight on the ref's name, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't probably 60-something Graham Kavanagh who used to play for Cardiff and Stoke refereeing yesterday. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But again, I suppose it's nothing to do with us, is it? It'll be frustrating because you get the impression if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd get sanctioned. But it's not really anything to do with us. It looks like Chelsea are going to get hit in the pocket. I think they've already got 2 of the defenders missing, haven't they? Because they've picked up their 5th booking and they play Liverpool next. So yeah, I mean, it's not really anything to do with us, I suppose, is it? It's a little bit frustrating, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someone wanted to ask us this because you put this in our WhatsApp group. So Jackie Oatley, who's the journalist, said Nuno has called on referees to understand the emotion of players and coaches in the heat of the moment. Now it's gone. Oh no. Basically, he says that I think referees should kind of take a moment to let things calm down before just endlessly dishing out yellow cards. So what's your thoughts and feelings on that statement, basically?
I think with that incident, I don't think he did. I thought he was quite calm and relaxed. And what you've got to understand, I suppose, is at that level, they've got all sorts of bits of information coming in from, the assistants, the 4th official. So, I mean, in that situation, again, I can only talk about it at my level. You want the 2 players who have started it, so Cucurella and Williams, I guess. You want anyone that's run 50 yards to get involved, chuck a yellow card up their nose. And between you need to remember how you restart the game. So there's lots of stuff going off. Obviously, they've got the privilege of VAR to have a little look at it. And to be fair, let's face it. I mean, who was booked in that? Was it Williams, Cucurella, and someone else?
Colwell, I think.
Colwell, yeah.
Yeah, Colville, yeah, because he was the one who came and run in and grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, didn't he? So, yeah, I think I do get the Nuno sentiment a little bit, but I think ultimately when something like that's happened, as a minimum, you're going to get a yellow card from each side. It's just how it goes at any level of football, that is. You've got to really find one from each side. I think I get what he's saying with certain incidents, and you don't want to take the love out of the game. At the end of the day, the referees aren't going to be observed on common sense, sadly. But yeah, like I go back to, I thought Kavanagh did a good job of that yesterday. I thought the yellow cards that he had were all pretty nailed on yellows. I don't think there was any that he could have managed, and he could have maybe had a chat with the skipper and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I do get what he's saying, but I don't think that was the right game to be saying that after, because I didn't get the impression that Kavanagh was like that yesterday.
I mean, I was all for it anyway. Good overall. Obviously, Reece.
Great, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, what followed Reece was, I mean, prime Barclays has been the theme in the last month or so. But Nico Williams having a strike against Sanchez, and then literally Chelsea go up the other end. Mudryk, puts in the crossbar and Kunku, and Matt Sells pulls off an incredible save. But let's just talk about those two moments of great goalkeeping, really, in one sense.
It kind of fell to the wrong play, didn't it, Nico? It hit it well. It was a pretty good height one to Sanchez just to palm it away. I think if that's a striker, you'd probably go hard and low, but no, I can't fault him for that. He actually had another volley which he hit pretty well, was straight down the throat of Sanchez from the edge of the box. So yeah, he come on and was involved a lot. I mean, I think he's English at heart, isn't he? Nailing Cucurella. I absolutely love that. I think that was the favourite moment of the game, I think, because Cucurella went absolutely flying, and I've never seen him get up so quick with cheat. But I mean, the ball for Mudryk was on the money, wasn't it? And when it's gone over the head of Murillo, you're just thinking, and Cuckoo's going to head that in, but Sells matched it, brilliant save, and yeah, the goalkeepers kept it at 1-1, didn't they? They were both. You could have probably flipped a coin, couldn't you, for man of the match for either of them? But yeah, and then obviously right at the end, we were dead patient, weren't we? And Iner's put in that brilliant ball, and when Jota's headed it into the ground, I genuinely thought we'd scored. And then again, what a save from Sanchez as well. So yeah, just an absolutely crazy ending of football. I'll probably pick your brains for this one, Lee, with you being a little bit older than Adam. But can you remember when England drew 0-0 with Italy to qualify for France 98? And I think England hit the post in the last minute, and then Italy went right down the other end and crossed it and had a free header, and they headed it wide, which would have meant they would have qualified instead. But
yeah, I've seen that clip.
It was literally like that. I think it might have been Ian Wright with the post for England, but proper end-to-end stuff. And like you said, Adam, prime Barclays at the end, brilliant stuff.
I mean, if Jota Silva scores that, he I don't know. I would love to know what his celebration would be, because he's a bit of a feisty character anyway. I reckon he'd have jumped in the away end personally, because he's that kind of guy. Like, wears his heart on his sleeve, and
really good in the air as well. For
a little bloke, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned this on the pod before. Like, Michael Owen always used to be good in the air for England, and he's kind of got that really good spring. I think he couldn't have done much more. Headed it into the ground, and bloody Sanchez, annoyingly.
It's really funny. I seen a video from the away end, and they're all saying like, "Get it in the box," and then obviously Aina's put it in, and then it's literally like everyone's head in hands kind of moment. But you know what? Fair play to Forest, because we've gone right at Chelsea with 10 men. It would have been so much. It would have been so easy to sit the 5-4-0 at the back with Morato coming on, obviously, to try and shore things up and kind of keep hold of what we've got. I mean, 13 minutes of injury time, and I think fair enough if you've got like the injury went down, there was handbags, and there's some S-housery going on from our lot, because I mean, another new favourite thing to do, Isley, obviously after the game, is type Ryan Yates into Twitter and see what comes up, and it's actually comedy gold, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He's amazing at that, isn't he? Let's face it. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious how he's just going after all the World Cup winners. I mean, I think I've said before, as much as there'll be listeners who probably don't agree that I'm about to say this, but against these sort of teams, this is Ryan Yates what he does, isn't it? I suppose. He's just like Carragher called him. He's a bit of a narc, isn't he? He's just really annoying. He knocks people off their game. He knocks. Enzo was rattled inside 17 seconds. He hated him. He wants to see the back of him as quickly as possible. That will be the most irritated he will be on a football pitch all season. So yeah, there's definitely a role for him. And just for the record, I've said it on my personal social media. That was Yates' best performance in the Premier League yesterday. He didn't just do that. He was actually pretty useful with the ball yesterday. He actually looked like he belonged at this level yesterday, I thought.
I think one of us already mentioned that on the pod this season for a previous game, that it was his best performance in the Prem. Was it maybe the Liverpool game, I think?
Yeah, quite possibly.
So you've got to hand it to him, haven't you? I think he's gone away again pre-season. He's come back and he's improved again. He just seems a lot better all-round player to me. And yeah, like Lee said, I know he wasn't worth anywhere near the money they paid for him. It went past 100 million in the end, didn't it, for Enzo, because there was so trying to get him, wasn't he, on deadline day, I remember. But yeah, he just a nuisance, wasn't he, to him? But we'll talk. I'm sure he's in the player performance, so I won't go too much into Yates.
Yeah, we are going to go into people's slept on it thoughts now, so we'll get on to that.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
So we've got Christians first, who's in America. So he's put slept on it thoughts. Appreciate it's nearly 2 p.m. back at home when he sent this, but it's 8:50 a.m. here. Think I've just about recovered from stoppage time and an outstanding point on the road at the Sky 6 club, especially after having to see it out of 10 men for 25 minutes, including added time. Yates, Milenkovic, and especially Sells were outrageously good. That's possibly the best goalkeeping display we've seen from a Forest stopper since Brice Samba in the playoffs. Still in a survival first mindset given the last 2 years, but we effectively need 26 points from 31 games to survive the year. Excellent effort from all well in Reds. So then moving on to the slept on it thoughts from everyone on Twitter. I don't know why it's gone off my screen and I don't like it. I've feel disorganized. I'm sorry. Bear with me. Sorry. Let's start with James Lewin. Sells needs some serious credit today. Overall, a good performance and great commitment. No other centre half would get away with a performance where he gives away 2 chances through unforced errors like Murillo did today, though. Binit Patel, that Murillo is decent. Forest are well organised. This isn't going to be easy. Sells is a better keeper than ours. They look much more solid than last season. These are things I heard from Chelsea fans sitting around me. Brilliant. Oh, he was undercover then. Oh, you Binit. That's very naughty. Tom Newton, Sells unbelievable. Inspired move from James Ward Prowse. I generally think Chelsea would have scored from that move. It's lovely to know that we no longer pack the red carpet now for the red carpet treatment for our away travels these days. Sort out home form and we're cooking under Nuno. Craig battled until the very end. The togetherness in this team is absolutely brilliant. Something we've lacked as a club for a long time. It's refreshing to know we don't lie down for anybody anymore. Nobody wants to play Forest. Mr. Geography. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. We are much more robust defensively and we have some decent options on the bench to switch it up. Jota Silva is a live wire. Morgan Gibbs-White a bit sloppy in possession and Moreno caught out a few times, but that's being extremely picky. Yates is ever so important in that point. Carl Booth, Sells man of the match, really dug in today. All the ugly stuff impeccable. Wood in the goal scoring form of his life. It seems Chelsea will put teams away this season at ease. So that result is huge. Hopefully Morgan Gibbs-White isn't out for too long. Nuno masterclass almost. Martin Fretwell, even with 10, Nuno went for it. Outstanding from the boys. Nigel Clough is the son of God. Sooner or later, the rest of footballing will start giving us credit we deserve. I no longer watch Forest defend with my heart in my mouth. We were solid today and more than deserved the point. Great performance from Sells. Hope Morgan Gibbs-White is okay. Coming to your Reds. Snowball Pete, a team with performance and determination, even when down to 10 for 25 minutes. Yet we still pushed forward and nearly got the winner. Superb saves from Sells and man of the match. Love the back four as they complement each other and are solid. Brilliant day. And topped off with a Chelsea comment. Last but no means least, Ian, Red Tricky Tree. Heart, passion, energy, fight. We had it all. We are a Prem side now based on that fantastic race. Reds just transform this into the home form and we'll be more than fine. Thank you as ever for everyone that got in touch. I think there's some really, really good points, and I think they kind of say them themselves about away form, brilliant. Like you said, Reece, we've kind of cracked it under there. We just need to now do it at home. I don't think it's from a lack of trying or anything. I just think maybe teams know that it's a hard place to come by, and I'm maybe making it a little bit harder for us to play. Also, Nuno doing some strange things like he did against Fulham. But yeah, I thought again, brilliant away performance, and long may it continue unbeaten away. I didn't think I'd say that at this time of the season, especially with some of the games we've had. I mean, take 5 points away from Liverpool, Brighton, and Chelsea, you'd have said someone's barmy, wouldn't you? Yeah, Reece.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's maybe an expectation thing at home because, going away, like you said, Adam, let's have it right. The bookies would have had Brighton, Liverpool and Chelsea as massive favourites. And to be fair, there would have been probably fans out there who would have said, I don't fancy us getting anything from them three. So to get 5 points is brilliant. And that's probably why I'm so frustrated last week, because when we're doing so well away, we're so greedy, aren't we, as football fans? You're thinking, if we could get this home form sorted, then you start like dreaming of all these far-fetched places in Europe, like Kazakhstan and the Faroe Islands. So yeah, it was a brilliant point.
We won't be playing teams like TNS, Reece. I don't know what you're on about. Lee, anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say I've got a little theory about the home form, and again, this is just my opinion. I don't know if it's accurate in any way, shape, or form, but I just wonder if the novelty's kind of worn off a little bit in terms of teams coming to play us. Obviously, a lot of the teams that are in the league now were in the league during those first 2 seasons, and maybe the City ground's not as intimidating to them now they've experienced it once and in some cases twice, as it was during that first season when every game felt like, let's face it, most games felt really bang up for it, didn't they? We realised how important the home form would be at home because we were so tragic away. And I just wonder if, I think, like you said, Adam, Nuno hasn't helped himself this season with some of his game plans and tactics at home. But I just wonder if that fear factor for visiting teams isn't quite as strong as it once was.
Maybe. I did want to ask, before we get to player performance, I did want to ask you both a question, because a friend of mine at work who comes into work said this to me about Anthony Alanga, because he only come on for the last 15 or so minutes and didn't start. I think he come on only at half time last week as well. Do you think he'll be getting frustrated that he's not started as much of late, or do you think he's quite understanding of it's a team kind of thing, and Nuno's trying certain things against certain teams, and actually his time will come again, but also it's down to the player himself not quite getting up to the standards as he was last season, and maybe we're being a little bit too over expectant. Reece, I'll start with you first.
I think naturally as a footballer you want to play, unless you're in the wrong profession, let's be honest, if you don't want to play as a professional footballer. So I think there'll be some frustration, which is natural. If you're a manager, you want players who aren't in the team chomping at the bit to be in the team, because if they're not, then that is a real concern. But yeah, Alanga's still an important member of the squad. I know he probably hasn't hit the heights of last season, maybe, but the problem is from last season is when we brought him in, and obviously Brennan Johnson left the club, there was probably not, you was looking for, he'd be one of the main guys you'd be looking to. Now there's a lot more options, like Hudson-Odoi was started slowly at the start of last season. He's come to the fore a lot more at the back end of last season. You've now got Jota Silva, who's come in and done really well with us. Ramon Sousa's there as well. You've got Elliot Anderson, who can also play on the wing. So yeah, there's a lot of options, and he's still, an important member of the squad. I know people say about the offer from Newcastle. I do think if that was earlier on in the window, if the rumours are true of the money it was spoken about, and then I think Forest might be willing to cash in. But for time being, he's still our player, and when he comes into, he came off the bench at Liverpool the other week and set up the winner, which was an absolutely wonderful pass. So yeah, he's probably not hit the heights as he has last season, but we're probably sharing things around a bit more is probably part of the reason for that as well.
Yeah. Lee, anything to add?
No, not really. I pretty much agree with all of that. I think with Nuno at the minute, it's pretty much a case of horses for courses. I think he's going with certain players in certain games, and that means in some situations, Alanga's an impact sub. I agree with Reece. I think any footballer who's not playing will want to play, but I do get the impression that the team spirit's pretty good at Forest at the minute. And if anyone is disgruntled that they're not playing, they've only got to have a little look at Jota Silva. He's not started in the league yet, and look how he's playing. When he does get off the bench. So Nuno will reward good form from the bench. I know that kind of contradicts the fact that Jota Silva hasn't started yet, but his circumstances are a little bit different because obviously he's a new player coming to a new country, and I'm sure he will get plenty of starts this season. But yeah, Alanga will come again. I think there's a notion in this sometimes with, well, I've certainly noticed it more since we came to the Premier League. One or two bad performances, and the three words that I hate to see, not good enough, just start emerging. One or two bad performances in the Premier League level doesn't mean you're not good enough for our team, for a team that's finished 16th and 17th. Players will have peaks and troughs, they'll have dips in form, but someone like Anthony Alanga, who's still relatively young, let's not forget as well, will undoubtedly come again. We don't need to start waving him on his way to Newcastle just yet, I don't think.
Yeah, it's still only his second full season really in football. So yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, yeah, Jota Silva chomping at the bit. I think Alanga might be a bit disgruntled after he found out he was got two less pace than Irritating on FIFA. So swings and roundabouts and everything. So player performances, guys. Lee, I'm going to give you first of all the captain Ryan Yates. I think he's proving everyone wrong again, including ourselves probably. And we've got egg on our face, and I'm quite happy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, just to reiterate, I think you can. It's perfectly fine to kind of. We don't need the Cole. Where's the Yates haters after every positive performance? We don't need that. I'm perfectly happy to say that I had reservations about Ryan Yates previously. If he keeps playing like he is this season, then I won't have any because he's been. Largely when he's played, he's been very good. And he's another player, let's not forget, who's not always been starting. So he's sort of had to come in and do bits and bobs to kind of prove to Nuno that he needs a starting spot on a more frequent basis. And yesterday he was outstanding. That's everything that I want to see from a player playing in that position. I think Ryan Yates is a better footballer when he understands his limitations. And I don't mean that as a negative. I just mean he looks worse when he starts trying to do things that he's not capable of doing. He's rolling the team now. We've got quality all around him. Should be very simple. Break things up. Give it to someone who can play football. It's an old Brian Clough cliche, isn't it? That he's not in the job to be raking. He's not in the role to be raking passes across the field and up the field. He's there to be a bit of a nuisance, irritate people, and he's bloody good at it when he does it, like he did yesterday.
I
think he irritated everybody.
Exactly.
He irritates our own fans as well, which is great. I mean, one of the best things I've seen was a Forest fan quote tweeted a Chelsea fan saying, like, he says that Ryan Yates is a scummy man, and then he quoted the Arctic Monkeys lyric, and I was like, there's a song in there, obviously, got to be. Reece, I'm going to give you someone that obviously probably got man of the match yesterday and got as a point, and someone that you've kind of been a little bit on the fence with, so I think this is a good one for you, and that's Matt Sells, who obviously pulled off some really good saves. I think some of the saves you'd expect a goalkeeper to make as well, but I think the one from Nkuku especially is match saving, really, isn't it? It's a point. He's gained as a point there.
Yeah, it was without doubt man of the match for me. I put on the personal Twitter how good Yates and Milenkovic was, but with the saves he made, Sells, he had to be man of the match. I mean, the one from Palmer to then get up and save it again. I think Palmer tries to be cute until he just lifted it over and thinking he's not going to get up quick enough, but he's there. Even the one where it nearly went in the first half, he was quick to react, to scoop it up. I think that's probably his best performance for us yesterday. And I do like Sells. I've said on this pod before that when he come in last season, he was the calmness, assurances that we needed. It's just as a natural progression. Sometimes you look at players and think, oh, can we improve in that area? Nico Williams has done really well for Forest, but at the minute he's on the bench because we've got Irritating who's playing, and we brought in Alex Moreno because the manager believes he's an improvement in that area. That's just how football goes. It's not a personal thing, but that keeper debate has gone away, hasn't it, for for time being, because he was absolutely magnificent yesterday. I mean, both keepers. I think they were trying to outdo each other, weren't they? Really, with the saves they made, and it's them two the reason why it did finish 1-1 yesterday.
Did you want to add anything, Lee?
I was just going to say I earmarked Sells for the save of the month, if not the season, with his one from Nkuku, but then literally 5 or 10 minutes later, I think Sanchez pinched it off him with that one at the end. That was just such an unreal save, and for it to happen in the same game, if we just sat there watching that game and we didn't support either team, we'd say it was one of the best games we'd seen for ages.
Yeah, the injury time was once we went down to 10 men, it was just end to end, wasn't it? Because we know we're good on the counter, and like I said, Chelsea pushed forward and they left holes, and we could have won it. They could have won it. Yeah, it was really entertaining to watch.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned Nico Williams about not playing too much, and I think when he's come on
well yesterday,
I thought he did. I think he's actually better at left back. Weirdly, I just think he gets into better areas, and yeah, I mean, he had 2 or 3 shots at goal. Like you said, that volley from the edge of the box was really well hit. Just obviously went down the throat of Sanchez. Unfortunately, didn't really trouble him. But yeah, fantastic. And I mean, I've got to speak to both of you. I mean, I think we've talked about these two every single week, and it's the M&M partnership of Murillo and Milenkovic. I mean, only Liverpool have conceded less goals than us. We're level on goals conceded with Arsenal, I believe it is. That is some good going. And I think we'll all agree as football fans that a good team are built on solid foundations, and they always start at the back. Look what Clough and Taylor did with getting people like Peter Shilton in, Larry Lloyd and Kenny Burns, and that kind of builds on your foundations. That having them players in and playing together week in and week out. Last season, Murillo had about 7 partners, and it just obviously completely disrupted the team all the time. But Milenkovic has took the Premier League like a duck to water, and brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Reece, I'll start with you first. Choose whoever you want to talk to. Lee can have the other.
Well, I'll go with Milenkovic, and I think they always say, don't you, that strikers win your games and defenders win your titles. You're seeing this with Arsenal at the minute. Saliba and Gabriel, the best partnership in the league, and if Arsenal do win the league at the end of the season, they'll have been a massive part of it. You look at the Manchester United teams, Vidic and Ferdinand back in the day, Tony Adams and Steve Bold and Martin Keown back in the Arsenal days, and Carvalho and Terry, every championship winning team. I'm not talking about Forest in a sense, but has got a solid defence, and this is the best teams of the world. It's just for 12 million, it looks an absolute bargain. And this is someone who likes Moussa Niakate, but what was it, 25 million for Niakate?
Yeah,
and we've got this guy in who, as we've said before, Serbian international, captain Serbia, who are a half-decent nation, played in Europe, played in Serie A, played in the last 2 Conference League finals. It's looking an absolute bargain. And the biggest testament you can give to Milenkovic is that the set-piece issues from last season look resolved. And that's down to others as well, but him being a massive part of that at both ends of the pitch, like Lee said earlier, got the assist for the goal yesterday. Annoyingly, in the last 2 games, he actually has flicked a couple away at our end. He did again yesterday, and he did one against Fulham, trying to get his head on it, bless him. But yeah, and he has formed a brilliant partnership with Murillo. And the only disappointing thing is that I've seen a couple of fans, there's more Facebook, trying to put Murillo down because of how well Milenkovic has been playing. And I'm like, why? They're forming a superb partnership, and they're both different style centre-backs, but their qualities are kind of, bouncing off one another. So, I mean, and also you look at some of the goals we have conceded this season. The Bournemouth one was, Toffolo's whacked it into the back of Murillo, which is, one in a million, isn't it? Wolves have scored an absolute worldie. Fulham have scored a penalty against us. So it's not like we're conceding these sloppy, stupid goals like we did last season anymore at the minute. And yeah, I absolutely love him, and he deservedly won Player of the Month for September. He's looking an absolute brilliant piece of business. And like Lee said on previous pods, his recruitment team gets bashed, doesn't it, from some people in the media, but he'll probably be towards the top of that list of saying, look at this guy who Forest have signed here, because I even seen somebody putting on Twitter yesterday, getting every team in world football apart from Arsenal. So shows you the effect he's had on us. But yeah, he's been magnificent.
I don't think this will happen because I think I don't want to be biased, but the likes of Carragher and Neville kind of look down on teams like us. But I bet you come end of the season, even if we concede like, I don't know, 40 goals, just for example, for the season, which would be absolutely magnificent. If we concede 40 goals, we stay up with absolute ease.
With like respect, the media in this country are fascinated by, 6 teams aren't in more than the others. Manchester United, the first story on TalkSport most mornings, especially if they dropped a stinker at the weekend. So, to be fair, I think was it Carragher in his first season in the Prem? Did he give Morgan Gibbs-White best signing? I believe.
Possibly,
I think it was Carragher or Neville. It was one of the two. So at least I guess they're giving us a bit.
They're trying to be edgy though. That's all.
Yeah,
it was.
but the truth is, they're not going to focus on Forest, are they? They're more bothered about Manchester United and Liverpool, as we see by the overlaps, constant Manchester United guess. I think probably rolling Raymond van der Gaal out soon.
But all I was going to say is I can't imagine what any of them say, looking at Forest, looking at Milenkovic and going, he's been one of the signings of the season. I generally think by the end of when we come to do our end of year awards, I think if Milenkovic isn't number one for signing of the year, him or Anderson, but Milenkovic is way ahead at the moment. I'd be very shocked if he doesn't get that from us lot on this pod. But Lee Murillo.
Yeah, I mean, it was a funny performance yesterday. The good things he did were amazing, and the bad things he did were absolutely terrible. Like Damien Perquis, terrible. They were really, really bad. But as a young player and as someone who's got lots of credit in the bank, you kind of, they didn't cost us anything. It becomes a cause for concern if we start conceding goals from them. And much like he has done to his teammates in the past, he was bailed out yesterday. So, that's how football works sometimes. So I'm not going to give him too much stick because he still did some really good things as well. I wonder if the fact that Chelsea are perhaps the team that have pushed hardest to sign him played into his. Again, that's me speculating. I've got no inkling that was it, but it just seemed so out of character for him to do that. I mean, there was 2 moments where he just like kind of dallied in possession and conceded a chance, didn't he? So it was just out of character. But the good stuff he did was really good. I just can't wait for the day he takes the net off because it's going to happen, isn't it?
Probably be Real Madrid.
Yeah, probably it's debut or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those, just a really kind of up and down performance from him yesterday. But like I say, it didn't cost us, so no damage caused.
I think when your confidence is flowing, sometimes you're thinking, this is a piece of piss, isn't it? And you can take your eye off the ball a couple of times. I think that's probably what he did. He was a couple of times he was a bit casual, wasn't he? And he was lucky, to be fair, where the bobble hit whatever happened in that because it was him who started that. But yeah, like I said, them two defensively were so much more solid, aren't we? And hopefully that partnership continues throughout the season.
I mean, it speaks for itself with the amount of goals we've conceded in context to last season. It speaks for itself, doesn't it? We can't really be too harsh on the defenders, even if they do have little lapses and moments. But I suppose ultimately that's why they're playing for Forest. I guess that's going to happen over the course of a 38-game season, isn't it?
I'm wondering when he will kind of do what Van der Ven's done for Spurs in the last couple of weeks, where he's burst forward and then almost got 2 assists in the last couple of games, and Van der Ven by bursting through. And Murillo's definitely got that power within him to go and get into those kind of areas, but it's obviously then as to be that bit cute and kind of make sure we're still defensively sound in case it doesn't quite work out.
I think that would be a lot easier if he was to go on to say, I suppose, bigger club than us. That would be easier for him to do that because he's probably not going to get caught out as much at the back. We saw that last season when he did it against Liverpool. He tried that, got caught, and they scored from it. So he's probably been told, a bit of that, but maybe to a little bit. Yeah, choose your moments. Yeah.
I mean, I think we have to give credit also to Alex Moreno and Olarena in this because, as a unit, you always. If you don't change your back 5 too much, then I think you're always bound to get success. And I think that's also been a very big positive. And And Olarena, that tackle that you mentioned earlier, Reece, with the Palmer chance in the goalmouth scramble is so pivotal because I think
it's something we mentioned last season as well. Sorry, Adam, about how many centre back partnerships we had.
Yeah,
every week there was pretty much a change, wasn't there? We had Andy O, we had Barley, we had Murillo was the one probably constant, but we had Felipe. We had obviously started the season. We had McKenna in there. We had Joe Worrell, and then this season these two you're like looking at the other centre backs we've got, and Morato's done okay when he's come into the team to see games out. But these two, unless they get injured at the minute, are just looking absolutely rock solid, aren't they?
Milenkovic will never get injured. He's made of metal. So Serbian steel. But yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. I mean, just want to kind of finish off because obviously we're going to go into an international break, so we'll probably be doing some stuff over that. So we're not going to go into the next bracket of games. Obviously, we've got Palace, then Leicester with a Monday and a Friday game. I'm not sure how that's happened in the schedule, but it is, and it is what it is. Both on Sky. Obviously, then we play Newcastle and West Ham, I think, in the next bracket. But are you both? I mean, Lee, I think this is a stupid question. We're going to ask anyway. Lee, are you pretty happy with how we've started the season? Because I think if you kind of, no matter how you kind of jumbled all those results up, no matter how they'd have come, I think most Forest fans would snap your hand off for, what are we, 10th? 10 points, 10th in the league?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You're pretty picky if you're not happy, I think. Given...
I'm greedy, Lee. We should have beaten Fulham or Wolves.
We've had so many... You're right, I agree. But let's say we'd have beat Fulham and lost to Liverpool as expected. We're in exactly the same place, aren't we?
Of course.
But yeah, I know what you mean. When you get the opportunity to kick on, it would have been nice to beat Fulham. But I mean, Fulham went to City and gave them a scare on Saturday. I don't think that was it's one of the, you just got to park it. You get those games in the Premier League sometimes, don't you? But yeah, I think you're very picky if you're not happy with 10th in the league. We don't have to look into the bottom half of the table to find us and where we are. There's lots of teams in worse situations than us. And yeah, is there still 2 teams that haven't won? 2 or 3 teams? Wolves, Southampton,
Wolves,
Palace, and Ipswich. 3. Palace 4. There's still 4 that haven't won.
Quite a few, isn't there? I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I'm very happy. I didn't expect us to have 10 points. I think, I'll be honest, after the disappointment of the Wolves, I think the last game before the last international break was Wolves at home, wasn't it? When it was a bit of a it wasn't a drab before. It was just one of those games, wasn't it? But for that worldie, we probably win a really poor game 1-0. I looked at the next fixtures: Liverpool, Brighton, Chelsea away, and Fulham at home, and I'm thinking, Christ, we're going to have to beat Fulham because I can't see us getting anything in those 3. And I don't mean that to sound really negative, but I mean, let's face it. Before the Liverpool game, we're yet to be convinced away, I suppose, aren't we, since we got promoted? So I was just a little bit sceptical what this team was made of, but they've proved me wrong, really, because the points total we've got from those really tough games is brilliant. So yeah, long may it continue. Yeah,
Reece, I know some of the strikers we've been after have. I mean, Marmoush is absolutely firing on all cylinders for Frankfurt. Do you think if, say, we'll probably have this conversation multiple times. Do you say if we're like in this position come November, December, do you think that kind of triggers the green button for Marinakis to actually go and get a striker to push us on to maybe, because his eyes will light up and go, well, do you know what, we can go push for European football. And Wood's doing a magnificent job scoring goals like he has. He keeps scoring in games we don't win though. That's my early gripe.
I mean, as a striker, that you've done your job, haven't you? If you've scored, you've done your job. He had one chance yesterday and he stuck it in the net. He's just a couple of stats on Wood, 16 goals since Nuno's took over. Only Haaland and Palmer have scored more. I mean, that's incredible. He must be closing in on our record Premier League scorer now. What's he probably on, 20? And Brian Roy got about 25, I think it was.
24.
So 24. So you'd imagine he'd overtake that this season. He's got 4 in. So he's got 4 in 7, which is pretty much nearly enough a 1-in-2 ratio. So over the season, that's pretty much 20 goals, isn't it? 19 goals. So he's doing all he can. And I did think about this earlier, going on to the results. And I know, once you've got the points in the bag, like we did against Liverpool, it is frustrating that you've not pushed on against Fulham. But we're 7 games in. If someone would have said to you, you'd have won your 3 home games, so that's Bournemouth, Wolves, Fulham, drew away at Southampton, which is 10, and then lost against Chelsea, Brighton, Liverpool, I think most fans would have probably said, "Well, that's not a bad. That's a pretty decent start." So that is pretty much what we've done, haven't we? Exact same amount of points, but obviously in typical Forest fashion, the winnable games we've not won, and the games we've thought on paper aren't winnable, we've got results out of. So,
they're all winnable, Reece.
Yeah,
You'll be getting hate mail from Elliot.
I know. I've seen Elliot. I've seen Elliot champion another podcast, person on another podcast. But and then you look at the next, because we've got a block now, aren't we, after this break until another international break where we'll run all over Ireland again, hopefully. But you've got 3 home games there in that block against, Palace haven't won yet, so the pressure will be on them. West Ham, I know they beat Ipswich, but they've been hit and miss, haven't they, so far, another Petegay. Newcastle, we always seem to cause them problems, so that'll be an interesting game. And then you've obviously got that away game at Leicester. I know they won on Saturday, but that'll be interesting because of all that goes with it being Steve Cooper. So, yeah, that's why I'm kind of frustrated, really, with that next block that we've got this international break in the way, because I think the biggest compliment you can give to the team at the minute with how, and this is how well we're doing, is we want more and more Premier League. So, sometimes in the first season, you're like, bloody hell, we're getting thrashed away from home. You're like, give us a break. But at the minute, you want more and more. So yeah, you could, like Lee said, I mean, we can all be greedy as football fans, but you can't crumble at the start, can you? When you look at how far we've come from, 5 years ago when we're stinking out in the Championship, you kind of have to pinch yourself at the minute, don't you? And realise how far you've come. And yeah, it's just lovely to be a Forest fan at the minute, for sure.
Yeah, we're all really annoying the rest of the league by not going to teams like Chelsea and Liverpool and open goal kind of football of just attack us and beat us 5-0.
Sorry, we'll come to your £1 billion squad and try and play you off the park with our significantly lesser valued squad. Yeah, because that's how football works, isn't it?
I don't know if you've seen. So obviously, I was the one who reposted from our friends at Chelsea Fancast JK's little rant of how organised and irritating we were. That's what gave me the kind of idea to name this pod. And I just loved it, and it just reminded me. I don't know if you guys saw that I wrote about being Big Sam in the press conference, ironically against Chelsea, where he goes, they can't take it without thought and without tactical.
Well, this is what I put on my personal Twitter. If you are going to these Sky 6 teams and winding them up on and off the pitch and getting a result in the process, then you've done your job. And Ryan Yates epitomised that yesterday because he seems to be upsetting everybody, doesn't he? And I'm all for it. Whatever grievances we've had on the pod in the past, you've got to hold your hands up and say, bloody tremendous, and keep doing it if this is the way to go away from home to get us results, which it is doing.
Yeah, I mean, Lee, we all like a player that everyone hates as long as he plays for our team, don't we?
Yeah, he's. I think it was Christian that said it yesterday, wasn't it? He's like Robbie Savage, isn't he? Yeah. For want of a better example, given his Derby connections. But he is a modern day Savage, isn't he? He's never too far away from the ref. He's always making sure that he's having a little watch, which is strange because it's usually Yates that's doing the fouling. But yeah, he's that sort of player. He's a character. You can't knock him for that.
I can't believe he didn't get booked yesterday because he cost me that. I had Harry Maguire as a double, and Maguire got booked, and Yates didn't.
Super parched, I would probably class Yates. Talking Reds Forest podcast have actually asked us how worried are we all that more Gibbs-White could be out for a while. Personally, I'm hoping that Nuno's kind of learned his lesson from that last game, and if Morgan Gibbs-White's going to be injured for the Palace game on Monday night, which I'm hoping he's not, because I think he'll get joy against them. I hope he plays either Anderson or Silva in the hole, and we play 4-2-3-1. I just think it's our best formation. It's our best way of going about it. Or even if we go to a more natural 4-3-3 and you play Anderson in a free and allow him just to go and do whatever he wants, because I think he's effective there as well. But what do you think, Reece?
Yeah, it's a shame he's not going to go away with England, isn't it? But now he's injured, you've got to think about number one, and with respect, these Nation League games are just glorified friendlies, aren't they? I could understand if maybe we had a qualifier where we're playing, a France or an Italy, but you've got to get him on the treatment table for us, and hopefully he'll be okay for Palace. But I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I'm not a doctor, so I did see some analysis of and the card doing some injury analysis, which is very woke in this day and age. But that's something people obviously enjoy. But no, we'll have to see, won't we? I don't know how long he's going to be out for. Hopefully, he's back as quick as he can be. But yeah, it just looked like he kind of rolled his ankle, didn't he? So it just depends on the nature of the damage, really.
Yeah, Lee.
I'm not as concerned as I perhaps would have been last season or the season before had we lost him. That's not to say that he's still vitally important and technically on his day he's our best player, isn't he? Let's face it. So, yeah, I think it'll be a blow. Of course it will. It's a blow for any team to lose a top player. But yeah, I think we've got strength in depth this season. Will it change our expectations for a season if it's a long term? That'd be maybe a question I'd throw back to you because I don't really want to answer it.
It didn't look a long-term one, did it? But
he walked off.
Yeah, he walked off. Yeah, but then again, you can break your metatarsal and walk off and hobble off. It does happen.
By long term, I mean, let's say you miss the next block of 4 before the next international break. We've got 3 of them at home. Would we have to kind of temper? Would we have to look at cancelling the hotels to Lithuania for the Conference League? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think. I'm like I said at the start. I'm not. I wouldn't be quite as concerned as I would have been the last 2 seasons. I think it'd be time to give Jota Silva a bit of a run, and because he does look quality. He looks really good. But again, the proof with him is going to come when he actually starts a game, isn't it? Is he going to look quite as impactful when he's actually? Because there's no way on this earth he can sprint around the pitch like that for 90 minutes. It's okay doing it for 20 minutes here and there, but
I guess he did.
I think we've got enough options. I
guess he did in the cup, didn't he, against Newcastle? I know.
True, yeah, true.
But we have got to stick someone in that position. I don't think we can play how we did line up against how we did against Fulham if he is not in the team. Gibbs-White. No. I think we just got to, like you said, Adam, stick to that 4-2-3-1. Stick Anderson or Jota in there, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the options. Obviously, still got Dominguez. Obviously, Ward Prowse going to be out of that game for Palace, so it's going to be interesting to see how we go. But yeah, plenty of options. I'm still really hopeful for those next 4 games. I think there's definitely a lot of points to get there and kind of start cementing ourselves in and around the middle of the table. I'm still trying to tame my expectations for the season but you do get excited and do get carried away as a football fan. That's only natural, and that's the kind of why you love football in a sense. So yeah, it's really positive. I'm really happy. Happy to be talking about it as well, because I know last season was always a bit of a slog when you're losing games and you're having to come on. Well, we're choosing to come on here and talk about it and going, "Oh, this is rubbish in here." But no, really good. But no, thank you very much for everyone that's joined us in the chat. Obviously, 4:00, bit of an awkward time. We are going to try and keep some content coming over the international break with a few bits and bobs that we're trying to work on. We're going to try a Twitter space at some point, I think, aren't we, Reece? Try and get everyone involved a little bit. So we'll look out for that and join us, obviously, for that, and everyone can get a bit more involved if you've got verbal diarrhea like the rest of us have. But yeah, till next time, we'll see you then. Hopefully, the international football is as good as it was in the last couple, where we saw Morgan Gibbs-White obviously make an appearance, but I'm not sure if he will this time. But do enjoy it without the football and without the Premier League. And thank you very much for everyone who joined, as I said again, and everyone who got involved with Slept On It Thoughts. Until next time, come on, you Reds.